So a few years ago, I was on a date with somebody I met online, and this person had so many questions for me, but one in particular stood out. And that question was, how do you feel about manipulation? And I was a little bit taken aback by the question itself, but my answer was, I'm not a fan. I don't have positive feelings about manipulation. And interestingly enough, he was equally surprised by my answer as I was by his question, because he was openly a fan of manipulation. He enjoyed it. He said to him it was like a game to manipulate people and situations to get what he wanted. Now, like I said, this was years ago, and I have to admit that after all I've been through and all I've learned since, at the time, I think I had a little bit of a naive view of manipulation, and it's really not a black and white issue, but nonetheless, it's an important one. So I wanted to cover it in today's video. And I'm going to answer the question, what is manipulation? And I'm going to cover some common types of manipulation, but I want to specifically focus on the types that are most dangerous to our emotional health and well-being. And at the end, I want to give you some tips that will hopefully help you navigate the times when you find those dangerous types of manipulation popping up in your own life. Let's get to it. Welcome to the Common Ego community. My name is Christina, and on this channel, we talk about emotional abuse, spirituality, and self-development. If those topics sound interesting to you, or if you like the topic of this video and want to learn more about manipulation and emotional abuse, I suggest you subscribe to this channel because there's a whole lot more content like that here. So today we're talking about manipulation, which is a very broad topic, and I tried to come up with an official definition for you from an official source. But a lot of the definitions that I found out there contain the word manipulate, which it kind of seems like cheating to me. So the best definition that I found is that to manipulate is to skillfully control a person or a situation. And you may use this word in everyday conversations. You could see somebody manipulate a pile of junk into a work of art. So manipulation really is a broad topic. And maybe that's why some people are open about their own manipulation attempts. Because the truth is that advertising is a form of manipulation. Governments manipulate information all the time, and so does the media. We are manipulated basically on a daily basis. Manipulation is part of our everyday lives, but there are times when it gets very dangerous for our emotional health and well-being. And those are the types of manipulation that I want to focus on here today. Because once you spot them, these are things that you really want to start doing something about, paying attention to, and paying attention to the people who are bringing this type of manipulation into your life. So I want to give you an example that will hopefully cover all the different types of manipulation. And although this is a simple example and it's relatively harmless. When I say relative, I'm talking about relative to how harmful emotional manipulation can truly be. But even though this is a relatively harmless example, you can see how harmful all of these tactics can be when they're used on an interpersonal level and in a broader emotionally abusive relationship. Especially if you've been through this, if you have lived through these manipulative tactics, or somebody who uses these manipulative tactics regularly, then I'm sure you understand very well how dangerous they can be. But we're going to talk about that as we go through the example. Okay, so the example. Imagine you and I are best friends, and there's this party coming up, and I really want you to go. I want you to attend this party with me. But there's a catch. So somebody is going to be there that I know you do not want to see. You don't want to see this person at all. To the point where if you knew this person was coming, you absolutely would not go. There's nothing I could do or say to get you to go. But this party is actually really important to me. There's some people there I need to network with, and I can't meet with them any other way, and I don't have anybody else to go with. I need a plus one, and it has to be you. So what do I do? Now, anyway, I've worked this example, there's really only one answer that is not manipulation. And that answer is to let you know, to give you the information I have. Hey, listen, this person's going to be there. And I know it's going to be uncomfortable for you, but I had to ask you because this is something that's really important to me. And if you don't want to go, I do understand, but I had to ask. And then when you give me your answer, if it's no, I let it go. So I'm giving you the information that I have, the information that I know is probably going to keep you from going to this party that I really want you to go to. But I'm giving you all the information and I am letting you make your own decision, not manipulation. But there are a whole lot of other things I could do that are manipulation. And we're going to cover those now. So the first thing, and probably the most obvious thing that I could do, is withholding. I could withhold information from you. And I could just not tell you this person's going to be there. If you don't know this person's going to be there, then you'll probably go to the party with me and I'll get what I want. And yeah, you'll be uncomfortable, but I'll get what I want. So the outcome is positive for me. The second thing I can do, and this is another dangerous manipulation tactic, and that is lying. I could lie and say, no, I heard that person is absolutely not going. So-and-so told me that they had something else going on that day. And then when we get there, I could say, oh, well, I guess I heard wrong. Or, maybe so-and-so didn't know what they were talking about. Lying again to cover up the original lying. And along with lying, I would probably have to use another manipulation tactic, another dangerous, very dangerous manipulation tactic. And that is isolation. To keep you from talking to the people who might tell you that the person's going to be there. They might tell you that this person you can't stand is going to be at this party, and then you might change your mind about going. So I might have to isolate you to keep you away from those people. And unfortunately, this is something that emotionally abusive people do to keep their story going, to control the outcome that they want from you. Because the more outside influences that they have, the less control they have over you. So if I was a manipulative person and I wanted you to go to this party really badly, another tool that I could have at my disposal is gaslighting. And that is a particularly devious one, especially when it's done in a broader scale, which it usually is. There are usually patterns of gaslighting in an emotionally abusive relationship that slowly but surely eat away at a person's sense of self-worth and self-esteem. So along with withholding, so I don't tell you that this person's going to be there. And then when you're angry with me because you find out that I knew that this person was going to be there and I didn't tell you, I tell you, oh, yes, I did. Oh, I absolutely told you. You just don't remember. We had a whole conversation about it and you said it would be fine. You said that you would just deal with it when you got there. And in this little example about going to a party, it seems like no big deal, right? Like it seems like, well, of course, I'm going to know that I never said that. But when it happens on a larger scale, when it happens to you every day on a daily basis, somebody is making you question your judgments, your memory, your own feelings. When somebody is constantly making you question all of those things, what they're doing is they're manipulating you to trust their version of reality or their version of the truth instead of trusting your own. And that is very, very dangerous. And unfortunately, when somebody is attacking your sense of self-worth and your confidence, it can be easy to overwrite your sense of what is going on. It can be very easy to control someone who doesn't trust themselves. Okay, so going back to our example, another dangerous and manipulative tactic that I could use if I wanted you to do something, if I wanted you to go to this party with me, and I knew there was a reason why you really didn't want to go, is I could use emotional blackmail. I could actually be honest and tell you, listen, I know this person's going to be there, but this is just so important to me. And you know how much this means to me. And, if you loved me, you would do this for me. If you cared about me, you would do this for me. Hey, do you remember that time that I didn't want to do something and I did it anyway because I just care about you so much? And if I were doing that, I would be relentless. And I would just keep going and going and going until either you snapped or you gave in. And if I was highly manipulative and you didn't give in after all of that, I would probably resort to passive-aggressive behavior. I would punish you passive-aggressively. I would give you the silent treatment. I would probably be sarcastic. I might even stonewall you to punish you for not doing what I wanted you to do. So if there's still time, then maybe you might change your mind. You might change your behavior to get on my good side again. And even if you don't change your behavior, you'll remember how bad it was. You'll remember how bad it was to be on my bad side. And maybe you won't do that again. So that's another way that people who are highly narcissistic can manipulate to control you. And I have another video on passive-aggressive behavior that goes in depth on this topic. So I'll link to that too in the card in the description. So to recap, the most dangerous and toxic manipulative tactics are withholding, lying, isolation, gaslighting, emotional blackmail, and passive-aggressive behavior. If you can think of any more, let me know in the comments below. And finally, what do you do if somebody is coming at you with all of these toxic manipulative tactics? I think the best advice in any situation is to disengage. Now, in one of my videos, I think in the gaslighting video, I said walk away. And I didn't necessarily mean to walk away from the person permanently, because sometimes we can't do that. So I did get some questions on that. Well, what if you can't walk away from the person? Really what I meant by walk away was to disengage. Walk away in the moment, walk away from the conversation. Maybe even just change the subject, just disengage from what's going on here. Because if somebody is employing these manipulative tactics, these toxic manipulative tactics, what they're trying to control you or a situation that you're involved in, and that's never going to be a good thing. Because really, we should try to retain control over our own lives. If we're adults who can make our own decisions, we should be allowed to do that. And whenever anyone is trying to take that away from you, then it's a red flag, and you at least should take a step back and assess the situation to try to figure out what their intentions are and why they're acting in the way that they're acting. If you cannot disengage, you may want to address what's going on. You may want to address the behavior that they are exhibiting. Whether it's passive aggressive, whether they're gaslighting you, you may, if you feel comfortable doing so, you may want to call it out, because there's a lot of power in silence. And somebody who's emotionally abusive is going to want to keep you silent about everything that's going on. They're not going to want you calling it out to them. They're not going to want you calling it out to someone else. So if you feel comfortable in calling out the behavior, that can take some of that power away from them. And another thing you can do, and this works particularly well with passive-aggressive behavior, is to ignore it. Just pretend it's not happening. And the same is true for emotional blackmail. If somebody is coming at you and they're laying it on thick, if they're trying to make you feel guilty, recognize what they're doing, and you can either call it out, or you can ignore them, or you can disengage. Any of those things should work fairly well to help keep you out of that person's control. And that's really the goal here. You're probably not going to get that person to see that what they're doing is wrong. And you're probably not going to get that person to change their ways. But really, the goal has to be to keep yourself out of their control. Keep yourself out of their grasp. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please let me know by hitting that like button. And if you'd like to see more videos like it, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.